welcome to Every Child Matters, a podcast by Because One Matters. I'm your host for this episode, Andrea Barkley, founder and CEO of Because One Matters. We are a Georgia nonprofit that exists to both positively influence and directly impact the path of foster children and young adults from low-income communities. Our purpose is to show children and young adults that their circumstances don't define them. We want them to know that they matter, they are loved, valued, and that they can be anything they set their minds to. During this podcast, we will talk to individuals with experience in foster care, from previous foster children to foster parents to foster organizations and lawmakers or policymakers. We know that individuals who have directly or indirectly experienced foster care have a story to share, and it is our privilege to share it with you. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Tami Wilder. Tami is the founder and executive director of The Positive Impact. Please join us as Tami and I talk about the work Positive Impact is doing in the community. Hey, Tami, welcome to Every Child Matters podcast. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Good morning, and thanks for having me on your show. This is such an honor.
Tami, tell our audience a little bit about Tami. Who's Tami?
Okay, well, so I'm from London, England, and grew up actually in the music industry with my parents. My dad was the lead singer of the band Heatwave, so like Always and Forever, Boogie Nights, and so I grew up. My mom's English, my dad's American, so they met over in England in the 70s. Raised our family in England, and we just, even though we were very musically inclined and toured a lot, my parents were always big into us serving and as a family and just doing things to give back to the community. My dad would do free concerts all the time and, for the city or the States or whatever. And it was just really awesome to see, me personally, to see the impact that these different charities were making. So I always knew that whatever I did as an adult, it was going to be with children and giving back some type of way. So we moved to America and about 20 years ago. And, I when I was 17, I had gone on a mission trip, and I always wanted to go to Jamaica. I loved Jamaica. And my parents were like, okay, you can go, but for 2 weeks, you can go for 2 weeks, but for the first week, you have to serve in an orphanage. That was the deal. The second week, you get to have fun. So I did, and it was life-changing. You know how you see on TV the kids in the orphanages in other countries, whether it be Africa, Jamaica, and there's like hundreds of babies and maybe 3 workers. I saw that, and they had our youth corps were the ones who would rock the babies and change them because the 3 workers couldn't get to the kids fast enough. So that was like probably a really defining moment for me, setting up what I was going to do, later in life. And so anyways, fast forward, moved to America, and I, just saw that in the community, whether it was foster children, underserved kids, that there wasn't anywhere for them to go for free to do like extracurricular activities or to get resources. And it was very hard for these families who were struggling to find resources in the community. And Gwinnett, which is so rich, and there is so much here, but just it's surprising how many people just don't know what they can, what resources are at their access. So we started Positive Impact, my family did, about 10 years ago. It was actually 2013 in April. And the main goal at that time was just to serve the underserved families in any way. We got a building and we did art classes and music and therapy. And then about 8 years ago, we got approached by National Safe Place to become the Safe Place agency for Gwinnett. And, during this time, I had worked for a lot of different foster care agencies. I became a foster parent myself. And I, even to this day, I currently train foster parents for the state of Georgia. And so being Safe Place was really cool because Safe Place is a national program, and it is an emergency youth shelter for kids who have run away, been kicked out of their home, or DFACs are working on family preservation. So there's an open case, but they haven't been taken into care yet. And in our county, we do not have any youth-only shelters in Gwinnett County. So we got the license to become that. So we work a lot with DFACs, But our homes basically are just like a foster home, only the kids have not been taken into de facto custody yet. And we keep these kids for a couple of days, couple of weeks. And we've got 7 right now in our youth shelter that will be with us for about a year and a
so
half.
the time they spend with you varies. So it depends on the situation. Is that how you determine the time?
Yep. Yep. It depends on the situation. Again, our goal is always to, like the same with foster care, the goal is always to get these kids back home, right? If we can provide the resources that the families need, especially with teenagers. I mean, it's so common that teenagers fall out with their parents, and, we get a lot of teen moms. We've had as young as like 14-year-old pregnant, girls coming to us. And it's just like a rough transition with their parents. So we're always trying to get them home if possible. And if not, and it's like an abuse situation going on, then, we work alongside with DFACs, and they can stay with us until DFACs find them a foster home. And then the third scenario would be that the child, that DFACs do not feel like they need to come into care, but going home isn't necessarily the safest option either, then at that point they would enter our long-term program.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. We'll talk about that more in a little while. So that is awesome. How long, when did you start Positive Impact? How many years ago? 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago.
Okay. And I've read somewhere that you started this with your parents' help.
Yep, sure did. And they definitely funded the program so that I could leave my job. I was working for a therapeutic foster care agency, and I knew that this was more of my heart. Like I still work with, training foster parents, so I still love working in that department. But I also saw that there was this demographic of children that are unaccompanied minors that were not being seen to, and there was nothing for them.
Kind of describe when you, for example, when you said you're a safe haven. So when you have to pick up a child, what is the demeanor, or how is that child? Are they scared? Are they anxious? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, it varies. I mean, one of the things we do is we do go into all of Gwinnett County schools, and we talk to the kids from 4th grade to 12th grade about the Safe Place program. So Quick Trip, don't know if you've ever seen the yellow and black signs at all the Quick Trips, and all the YMCAs have them. So we train the kids in their health class that if you are in danger, these are the spots that you can go to, and their employees are trained to get you to us. They'll call the home agencies. When we approach, the kids, usually they're going through some type of trauma. So, we've got kids that have showed up to the Quick Trips with no shoes on, barely clothed, because they've run away from home, like literally ran and taken nothing with them. So a lot of times they are a bit nervous, because at the end of the day, I mean, they're kids, and,
right, exactly.
We're these strangers, that they know we're safe, but they don't know us, and then, so we do sit there and we, before we even talk about them coming to our program, we'll find out what's going on. A lot of times, if possible, I am making a phone call to the parent, just so that the parents know where their child is, so they don't report them as a runaway, and explain the program to the parent, and then also explain the program to the child. And before we'll take them, we'll see if there's any other option. Like, is there a friend's house that you can go to, and we'll get you there. If we've got your parents' permission, and you have a grandma and you just can't get to grandma's house, like, we'll help you get there. And if not, then we'll explain to them what our program is, what it looks like. And, a lot of times we're taking in kids in the middle of the night. And then I would say the other most popular time we are also reaching kids is the school counselors and school social workers are calling us. And so sometimes we're going up to the school. We've kind of been talking to them all day because we're trying to figure out other options. And then by the time we've gotten there, they're a bit more versed on what's about to happen. And, we'll just spend time just talking to them and, trying to help them feel as comfortable as possible, because it's scary. There's no way around it, right? It's scary when a child's getting taken into foster care and they have no control over what home they're going to, who the parents are, and they're just kind of expected to go there and fall in line. And it's a little unrealistic, for a child to just be okay, even if they're the ones that ran away.
Yes.
It's rough.
Yes. So at any time, do you call the police? Do you get the police involved?
Yes. So the younger the child, the more likely we are to call the police. So we've had a 10-year-old and her 5-year-old brother. They walked from an extended stay that they were living at with grandma, and they walked to a Quick Trip, and it was about probably 12:30, like in the morning. And so, first of all, that's a danger because you've got these two
Right.
kids walking down a main street that are 10 and 5. And so at that point, it's not that they can't come to our program, but there's something a bit deeper going on. We need to find out what's going on. Where are they from? Where is grandma? So we will call Child Protective Services, and normally the police are going to show up with Child Protective Services.
Okay. Wow, that is interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, so we're going to take a break. When we get back, we will have more with Tami from Every Child Matters podcast. Stay tuned. Welcome back, Tami. Let's continue this conversation. Let's talk about the foster care perspective. You've got foster kids, or have you fostered before? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I've been fostering for about 15 years. My parents fostered as well. My whole family is involved in all of this. But I have two little boys we got them last year. They're brothers. They're 3 and 4. They were 3 and 4 when we got them. They're now 4 and 5. And, originally I did not plan to adopt them. My daughters are 12 and 15, and I'm almost 40, and I'm like, I'm almost an empty nester. And in having these boys, like it's amazing. Like they just blended in with our family, and I just felt like God was like, these boys need to stay with you. I couldn't imagine them going anywhere else. So their adoption will be final March 23rd. But what's interesting is that, they have been in care their whole life. Right, so they're only 4 and 5, so it's not many years, but they came into care when they were 1 and 2. Their parents were addicts and are currently incarcerated. But the 2 foster homes that they came from, the first one was physically abusive to them, and the second one was sexually abusive to them. So it breaks my heart when we get these huge folders on their whole life study, and all the things they've gone through, and it breaks my heart that, within the foster care system, we've got these kids that are already wounded. And, just because somebody goes through the process, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are a safe home for these kids. And, a lot of predators, they're going to go where the needy, where the most vulnerable are, and children are one of them. And so for me, it really, made me determined. That's why no matter what I do with Positive Impact and Safe Place, I will always train foster parents. I probably train about 15 to 20 a week. And I will always do it because I know how important it is that we have quality foster homes. We have parents that are not just doing it for the money,
yes,
really love these kids and are willing to go in, like, treat these kids like they are your own. That's usually the big thing that I'm teaching these parents is like, there's no difference. Don't call them the foster child. Like our boys, they're my boys. They're not my foster boys, they're not my adopted boys. They are my boys. They're no different to my daughters. And that's the type of families that we need. We need people that, are even a little bit more experienced, raised kids, or we need people that maybe used to be counselors or social workers or pediatricians, just a different level, because these kids, they're already coming with a significant amount of trauma, just being removed from their family, even if they didn't want to leave their family. If DFACs remove a child, it's because they really feel like they need to be moved. And that was kind of like my point before this, was that one of the big differences between Safe Place and a child going into care is that we really lack in foster homes for teenagers. And I get it. Teenagers are scary. They're scary. They're little adults. Everybody wants the babies. There's a long waiting list for the babies, and younger kids get adopted faster, but teenagers, especially the teens that have been in care since they were young kids, right? They develop a lot of habits. They've been moved from home to home, so they don't have attachment, to families, and they just develop just a lot of behaviors. And so if you get a 16-year-old that's been in care for 10 years, it's going to be a bit rough. You've got to work really hard to earn their trust. So my point is, it's scary for people to take in teens. So we don't have as many homes for teenagers. So when we get a call, either from DFACs or from the school system, that there's a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 17, we have a lot of calls for 17-year-olds, and they cannot place them, even though a lot of these kids are coming from abusive situations. We just got a girl last night into our program that's 16, and her mom tried to stab her. You would think the DFACs would take her in. But when I talked to them, they were explaining that they really don't have enough homes, and there was no physical evidence, right? Kind of like the option was she came to our program or she went back home. And DFAC still keep an open investigation case, and they're still staying on top of them and trying to, give the family resources, but we just don't have homes, for these kids. And so it's just a very tricky situation. I know DFACs do everything that they can, but it is what it is. They can't invent 1,000 homes, if we don't have them, and they've got to treat the most urgent cases first.
And it's, a lot of people, like you said, they want the babies, they want the younger kids, they don't want to deal with the teenagers. And you do have to have patience with teenagers, or sometimes the younger kids could be worse than the teenagers. It just depends on the situation. So it's an issue. I know, work is being done, but sometimes it feels like it's not fast enough.
Yeah, it's true. Because the thing is, it's like, and I feel that a lot of times just with our organization, is that the needs are coming in fast. Like, we're getting more calls every single day, and but we don't necessarily have the resources to create 5 more homes. It's taken us years just to get the 4 that we do, And so it can be frustrating because you want to be able to meet the needs as they're coming in, but it's just not always feasible. So then you have to sit there and you have to pick worst case scenario, the most urgent cases first, and then you feel bad for the kids. It's tough.
So let's talk about your strategic partnership with Integrated Health Center of Georgia. It's a therapeutic foster care agency.
Yeah, it is. It's been around for about 5 years. They're newer, but they're a really great agency because they, Dr. Fraser, who's the CEO, he actually is, for the past 25 years, he's been a doctor for the CDC, and he's got a very, strong medical background, but he really saw the need for quality homes in our community and agencies that can provide like everything in-house. So it's therapeutics. Of course, a lot of our kids have, a lot of behavior issues, a lot of mental health issues or physical issues and illnesses or sibling groups. So just kids that are harder to place. And he wanted to create a foster care agency that was, really dedicated to meeting the needs of each foster parent and the children, and not having to go out and look for services, but to create all of the services in-house. So he has, doctors that can do the health screenings for the kids and the parents, and their trainings. They've got, professionals that are on their team that can do really great therapeutic trainings for their parents, and they can just kind of meet the needs immediately, have smaller caseloads. And so I really enjoy our partnership with them, because what we do together with Positive Impact is we're in the same building. So he's on the second floor, we're on the first floor. And when we have trainings, whether it's Positive Impact to have trainings or Integrated, all of our families can attend. If with Positive Impact, we have a lot of community programs, all of the kids in his agency can attend any of our programs. And then, we've made all of our safe place homes foster parents as well. So they're dual certified. And so they can also help with, if, Integrated and needing an emergency placement, all of our safe place houses can take any foster child, because, they're all approved. So there's so many different ways that, we work together, writing grants together, and just doing things in the community together, because we're stronger and we're meeting kind of both ends. So we've got therapeutic foster children, and then we've got kids in safe place that are right before, they would end up being in a DFAC situation. So we're preventative and then after. And we've been partners for about 4 years, and it's been great.
So I know you touched on reasons why people should get involved. Well, let's talk more about that. What do you think is the number one reason why you feel that people should get involved with foster care or your program?
Yeah, I think that, so in answering that question, I always think about me personally, like, what is my motivation, right? And what heart would I want other people to have? And I think, remember, like, I'd say 20 years ago, I feel like, or even when I was growing up, so like, in the 80s, 90s, I feel like communities had more of a village concept, right? So if you see, like, if I'm out in the mall and I see a child that I feel like is too young to be walking around by themselves, they're like 8 years old or something, I'm immediately looking for their parent, right? If I'm out in my neighborhood and I see kids playing and there's a car coming down really, really fast, I don't care if it's my kid or a child that I don't know, I'm going to jump out and make sure that kid doesn't get hit. Right. So I feel like we've kind of, along the years, we've lost that community village concept of like, even if that child is not mine, I'm going to look out for them as if they were, because I would hope somebody would do that for my children. And so I think the need is great because our kids, this world is not getting any safer. And we need people that feel that. Like, I think with working with children, whether it's safe place kids, community kids, foster children, you have to have a special heart, right? To want to take in a child, to want to help meet the needs of a child. And if you don't have the heart, it's okay. You know, there's other ways. Maybe your heart's for the elderly or, veterans, or it's fine. But I think specifically with working with this demographic of children, you really have to have the heart to want to invest in a child's life, right? Because we're talking about their whole life. I always tell parents, if you have a child for 2 weeks, those 2 weeks could be some of the best 2 weeks that child ever experiences, because of what you pour into them, what experiences you show them, what things you teach them, life lessons, conversations, right?
It could be a life-defining moment for that child.
Absolutely. And so I just feel like, the need is great, that the heart needs to be that you want to invest in a life, in whatever degree you can. And, I hope that we just get more people that, want to do it. I think part of the problem is a lot of people don't really know that the need is this great. It's one of those things that if this isn't the demographic that you work in, you wouldn't necessarily know. The amount of homeless youth we have and homeless families and families staying in extended stays. And unless you
you don't know, that is area, so true, because you don't see. Exactly, because you don't see a lot of homeless people in Gwinnett County, but there are so many homeless people in Gwinnett County. Yes, in Gwinnett County, they are working towards a resolution for that. So it's not like they're not doing anything, but because you don't see people on the street, homeless people on the street, you think, wow, Gwinnett County doesn't really have a homeless issue, but they do.
Yeah. And I believe that the county,
yes,
they know the issue because they're seeing it. We're getting the phone calls. The people that don't know are just our everyday people that could help. You know what I'm saying? That could be a part of the solution. It's not that they don't want to help. They just don't know. They don't understand that our extended stays are overwhelmed with families. And you listen to the school reports of how many kids are in care and how many kids are couch surfing and how many, it's over 1,800.
And there's so many kids living in extended care, in so many.
Yeah. And they're not safe. I go and pick up kids all the time from there, and anybody can stay in an extended stay. You've got, sketchy people, and then the kids are playing out front, and I understand that, like, the cost of living is going up, but doesn't necessarily mean that wages are going up, and it's not necessarily easy for people to get higher paying jobs. And so families are struggling, especially after the pandemic. Families are having a hard time getting on their feet, which leads to all different types of problems. But, the extended stays, you can pay weekly.
And it's not a credit check, and it's not saying you don't have to have 3 months of rent as your deposit. So it's easier. It is easier.
Exactly.
Right.
So you may be paying more, you may be paying $2,000 a month for one room, where you could be paying that for a 3-bedroom house, but you won't get approved for a 3-bedroom house. So, it's a catch-22. And so I think that it's just, I really appreciate shows like yours because it really gives the opportunity from all different perspectives to share the need, and the awareness of like our county and just how much we all have to come together in whatever capacity we can do, come together and raise awareness, and then think, what are the solutions? How can I help?
Yeah. And there are lots of ways people could get involved. Like you said, they don't, if being a foster parent is not for them, there are other ways they could get involved. They could get involved with a lot of nonprofits that are serving children. There's so many nonprofits in Gwinnett County that are serving children that they could get involved with. They could volunteer time. Absolutely. And it's not always about donating money. Sometimes your time is more important than your the dollars. Yes. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the foster care system as a whole?
If I'm being 100%, I think that the foster care system does a lot for children, but we could do so much better. I think that like I was saying before, we need to provide higher quality homes for these kids. And we need to do better in training our parents and being realistic about what they're actually going to experience and what these kids go through. I think the impact training is great, but it hasn't been updated in about 20 years. And, I think that we could definitely we could do a lot better. We owe it to our families who are willing to take in these kids. And I feel like, and I say we because,
Yes.
we're a part of this too, need to do, better as a whole and creating more resources
and partnerships and support to the
Absolutely.
caseworkers. The caseworkers
Absolutely.
are overworked.
Yeah.
They are underpaid. They're
overwhelmed.
underwhelmed. Sometimes they work all weekend. They don't get any sleep because they have so many calls.
Yeah.
So it is, yes, it's a great system. It's doing a good job, but it can be better. Like you said, it's broken and it's going to take a lot of resources and time to get it fixed. But I definitely think partnerships, partnering with the Department of Family and Children's Services and partnering with government agencies and everyone sitting at the table and trying to identify the areas that is broken and not tackle it all at once, because you can't do everything at once. Maybe just, prioritize it. Okay, this is the number one issue we have. We need more social workers. Or we need to increase their salary. Maybe that's the first thing. When we recruit foster parents, like you said, be honest with them, because sometimes when the training they get and what they're experiencing are totally different, or they don't have the support from the caseworkers. And it's not because the caseworkers are bad. It's because the caseworkers are so overwhelmed. Their caseloads are so, yes, exactly. Right. The left doesn't know what the right is doing. So it just needs a lot of connecting the dots. Go ahead.
And I'll tell you another thing that I think would also be really helpful. So this past Sunday, I spoke at this church in Beaufort, and it was really encouraging because the pastor of the church, I'd met him through like one of my board members, and him and his wife were like, we've had 5 kids, we've got this big house, and our kids are grown, we've got grandchildren, and we feel like, what more could we do? Not just leading the church, not just feel like, what more can we do to help our community? So their heart was to foster or adopt some children. So as I met with them, I'm talking to them about, just them personally, the process and the need. And then he was like, you know what? I feel like this needs to be the mission of our church. So he had me come speak at his congregation on Sunday just past. And it was really cool because, he asked me some questions in front of everybody and a lot of awareness, talking about the need and the process. But, he just was like, I think that our church need to take this on as a project, because for them, I'm Christian. So from a Christian standpoint, what are the few things that we're told to do? Take care of the orphans, the widows, and he mentioned that scripture and was just kind of like, we need to, as a church community, be taking this on. He asked me, do you feel like the church is doing enough? And I was like, no, I don't. In general, we as the churches should be doing so much more in the community. I think it's wonderful to send money to other countries and support other causes, but we have a lot of immediate needs right in our back garden. And I think the community, yes, need to get involved, but when that is like your faith or your mission, you know what I'm saying? Like, to take care, we've got to be figuring out, how do we support DFACs? We've got all these families, we've got youth ministries, we've got all these different positive things and resources. Yes, the churches have buildings. They could be holding, even if the church were like, well, we can't promise we can give you foster families, but you can hold your trainings in our community, in our church,
or partner with other nonprofits to see what their needs are. It's like we are actually working with a church right now to host our back to school event. Those are the things we need. So it's not, again, it's not always about dollars. It could be allow us to
Yeah.
use your building, for a training like you mentioned,
Right.
or an event, or whatever it is. So
Right.
it is to get involved. One of the things that I noticed when I first started this nonprofit is that during Christmas times, oh my goodness, everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to, I want to buy,
Yeah.
I want to sponsor a child, I want to do this. But
Yeah.
January, it
Yeah.
is so quiet.
It's
January
very
through
quiet.
September, yes,
January,
it's
February, March.
extremely quiet. It's like, how can we get
Yeah,
people
it is.
to be givers? They're great givers during the Christmas times, during the Christmas time. How can we get people to continue doing that, not just at Christmas time?
Well, you have to think about it. A lot of times, I think human nature is a lot of people give based on their need, if that makes sense, not
Mm-hmm.
based on the needs of others. So, what I mean by that is that, Christmas time is a huge given time. It's also the time that a lot of people need um,
Yeah.
the write-offs. And, it's also a time that, think about in
Mm-hmm.
America, the giving season, right? So Thanksgiving, Christmas, it's
Yes.
marketed all over, and so it kind of, it meets people's needs to give it at that time. It's not necessarily convenient to give on
Yes.
other parts of the year, but for us working in it, the needs
Exactly.
don't stop. The
And
needs
sometimes
are
our
every
needs
day,
are
every month.
greater
And
in
I do want
February than it is in December.
yes, because that the resources are so few, so you've got to
Exactly.
stretch them
Right.
out, right? And so, and I do want to thank you so much for, your organization partnering with us. And, one of our needs is we get a lot of minority, Black children that come into our programs and in foster care. And, we get a lot of items donated, but it doesn't necessarily meet their needs when it comes to like hygiene products and hair care. And, you and I had a conversation and you specifically asked me what our kids needed. And when I tell you, being able to give our kids the quality of products that you gave us, they were so excited. Like, we've got Cantu hair products, like in cocoa butter and, like just the very specific things. But, for other people, this might not be a lot. But, if you know that your hair is going to be dry and brittle, and you're just being grateful because you just need something to wash your hair with, but then somebody actually gives you something that kind of works
Your
with,
skin type or your
whatever,
hair type or
your
whatever.
ethnicity.
Yes.
It's huge. It's huge. It's huge. And I cannot thank you enough for that. I just remember like when my mother and I were getting the boxes out of the trunk and I'm just looking through the boxes and I'm like, wow, like this is just, it meant so much to the children. And I know I didn't get to talk to you after I gave it to them, but they were so excited
And
and so
I
grateful.
appreciate that.
And it just makes
Yeah.
me
And
feel like they
that's what we
mattered,
are trying to do, even with our closet. We realize that teenagers, the clothes that we have in the closet, it might not be their style. So we're working towards having a
Yeah.
gift card. So when the teenagers come in, they could get the toiletries and the towels and the socks and the underwear, but giving them a gift card so they could go to the store and purchase their joggers or their t-shirts, that special t-shirts or whatever it is.
Because
Yes,
kids are
yes,
mean.
right.
Kids are so mean, and these kids go to
Exactly.
school and they get bullied, and kids realize if they're wearing the same clothes,
Yes.
even if they're clean, they're wearing the same things, and so it's kind of like they're already going through so much, and now they're standing out even more because their hair doesn't look done, they don't have their edge
They're
gel, they
labeled.
don't
They're
have
labeled.
the, whatever it is, and it's a true story, like, and even the kids that we get there, a lot of times, I've never had a child ask me for anything that was a designer, anything, but they'll say, grey hoodies are in right now, and in school, the schools are really cold. The air conditioner is blowing like hard. And they're like, if I could just have a plain grey hoodie, just like doesn't have any name on it. If I could just have, a pair of these shoes, you know what I'm saying? Like, just because people are going to know if I'm wearing these same, tore up shoes every day. And that changes, that positively affects their quality of life. It's very minor, but it's huge to them.
I totally agree. And, it's just kids are bullied at school. They are labeled, like you said. And so having them to have something clean and something that they feel comfortable
Yep.
in, because it might be clean but they might not feel comfortable in it. And that's why we want to make sure that these
Yeah.
teens get a gift card so they could go out and buy their special t-shirt that they want, or those joggers. And those teens
Yep.
are in joggers now, so those joggers, or the girls are in
Mm-hmm.
leggings and flip
Mm-hmm.
flops, or yeah,
The yoga
exactly,
pants and
right.
the
So we want, that's what
yeah.
we want. Even when we do our duffel bags, we ask, what is it that the child want? Or for Christmas or birthdays, we ask,
That's
what is it
awesome.
that you want?
Yeah.
And we tell the parents, please do not tell us the child wants a pillow. We
Let
really
them
want
pick.
them to
Yeah.
pick. And sometimes we do get parents that still say, well, the child needs this, or the child wants this.
Yeah.
But so when they said the child needs this, I was like, is this a need or a want? Is it really directly from the child? Because we really want to bless them on their birthday with a gift that they really want. For Christmas, the same thing. So I totally get it. It's just, because we have kids, and if we go to the store and purchase, I know with my granddaughter, she's only 6, but if I go to the store and purchase her something, she might say, Nana, I don't like that. Right. So, and it's the same thing. We want these kids to feel that this is what they want. Some people might say, well, they should be grateful for what they have. So should our kids.
It's
so,
true.
But
it's
it's just not. It's not that they're ungrateful, but they're coming from a situation that they're labeled. And so we're trying to change that. We're trying to remove that stigma. And like you said, not referring to kids as foster kids, referring to them as kids.
Yeah, they're just children.
Right.
They're just children. Yeah, just like anybody.
Right.
It's a situation that's got them in that, but they're no different. I see this all the time. These girls, just took a bunch of the girls that we have in our program to McDonald's last night. And my daughter, my 15-year-old, she came with me, and I like to bring her along to a lot of things, and she'll make friends with the girls. And I really wanted to see what I'm doing, just as my parents did with me. And but it was funny because I was talking to one of the new girls we just got in, and she's only a few months older than my daughter. And I was telling my mom, I said, I'm talking to her, and I literally just felt like I was talking to my child. Do you know what I'm saying? Same mannerisms, same. And I'm like, there's no difference apart from the situations. There's no difference. And I think that one thing that your organization does really well is helping a child feel like I see you, because I think in foster care and even with safe plays, their situation ends up being the focus, and they just kind of get thrown about, right? And so when you pay attention to their individual needs, and even sometimes their wants, because that's just normal for a child to have wants, right? But when you look at them and you're like, you're not a case. I see you. Your name is Sarah or whatever, and this is what you like. And these are the things that make you happy. And these are the things that kind of trigger you a little bit. But I see you, because at school, they get lost in the shuffle. They're struggling in school because the teachers can't keep up with them being moved from week to week. And, so they just get lost and they feel lost. I've had many kids tell me, I just feel lost. And I know what it feels like to feel lost as an adult at times, when you're like, what am I doing? And so being a child, it's different, because even as an adult, like for me, at times where I might feel, different stages, like, okay, what am I doing? Am I where I'm supposed to be? But there's a stability that I have in family and support, that I just imagine a child who does not have that stability and support, and then feeling lost on top of it and not seen or heard. And that's kind of the theme of what these kids go through. So anytime that we have an opportunity to be more personal, and that's why I really love how we do our homes, is that, we could have done a big building and had 20 kids in there. But I just feel like ultimately kids need to be in a home setting, right? Which is why foster homes are great. Parents, a routine, family dinners, parents to teach them how to cook, do laundry, get their license, like all the things. It's harder to do it when you've got staff in and out, So I didn't want our houses to be group home. We don't even call them shelters, even though they are emergency use shelters. We call them homes, safe place homes. And they're house parents, not staff. And the house parents refer to them as their kids, And so just being able to give them that individual attention, meeting their needs where they're at, and it being, we don't have any more than 6 kids in a home at a time. And, you can have a family of 6, it's not super crazy, but it's more rare to have a family of 20 kids, you just can't. So I think like with what you're doing and how we're doing, our program, it's just kind of meets another quality meets the needs at a different quality,
Yes.
shall I say, that, hopefully will just be more effective and will helping produce some healthy new
Yes,
adults,
definitely. Yes, definitely. So Tami, thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do to make an impact on the lives that you serve and the lives that you will serve. You guys are a difference maker. You guys are making a difference in Gwinnett County, and I hope that you guys will expand to other counties eventually because the need is there. um,
Yeah,
okay.
we do. Yeah, we're Gwinnett
Okay.
County and all north, so Athens, Gainesville, Jefferson, Barrow County,
Awesome.
Hall County, because they don't have any agencies out there, doing this either.
Awesome,
So we
awesome.
serve all
But
of
no,
them.
you
Yeah.
guys are doing a great job. We're going to take a great break, and when we come back, we're going to play a little game. This is my favorite part. I love playing this game. And we're back. Okay, Tami, we're going to play a game. I'm changing it up a little bit. Today,
Okay.
I'm playing a game called um, Never Have I Ever. So I'm going to say something to you, and you say never or yes.
Okay.
Never have I ever used a rotary phone.
Used a what?
A rotary phone. You know what a
Oh,
rotary?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
You're from England, so you had those, right?
Yeah, I'm like, absolutely.
Use the floppy disk.
Yes, I have.
Use a typewriter.
Yes, I have.
Never have I had a speeding ticket.
Yes, I have. Several.
Taking a photo with those cameras that you either had to take them out and take them to the shop.
Yes,
get them developed.
Yeah, that's my whole 7th grade year.
Listen to music on a CD.
Oh yeah.
Okay, no one knows yet. Okay, send or receive a fax.
Oh yeah.
Had a MySpace account.
Oh yeah.
And an AOL email address.
I still have it.
Use a phone book.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Broken a bone.
No.
Oh, my first no.
Never.
Sent a postcard.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot when I was younger. Sending postcards was my thing.
Yeah.
Never have I ever binged an entire TV show in one day. Binge watch a TV show in one day.
Oh yes. That's my favorite thing to do.
I just finished binge watching Amsterdam. I never knew about Amsterdam, and I watched the 4 series in about 2 weeks.
I'd gotten COVID, and this was like back when we were during the pandemic, and I binge watched 3 seasons of The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, really?
And, I literally was like speaking in their terms and everything because that's all I was stuck in my room. So
yeah. So never have I ever missed a flight.
Yes, I have.
I've never missed a flight.
Worst feeling ever.
I know you're going to say yes to this one. Owned a dictionary.
Oh, yes.
All right, so yes to this one, too. Pay for something with a paper check.
Oh, yeah.
Still do. Okay, that was so much fun. Tami, again,
that was
thank
fun.
You for
that brought me back. Yeah, that brought me way back. The postcard was the best one. I remember, like when you'd go on holiday and you'd look for postcards that would have like pictures of where you're from, so you could send them to your friends. Like, oh yeah,
that's what I did. I did that.
Time.
Yes, I used to love sending postcards to my mom and my grandmother. Just of places I've been. So yeah, because it tells the story.
It really does. I miss stuff like that. Now we've got Facebook, so people would just take pictures where they're at.
I know, right?
But there was something really like personal about sending somebody a postcard.
Yes, because you'd write something on it, or you just put a quick note. Sometimes they would get it way after you come back from vacation, but it was
right. That's a great memory. Good old days.
Yeah. So, Tami, is there anything else that you would like to share before we wrap up?
I would just, first of all, like I said, I want to thank you again for just having me on the show. This has been wonderful. And I really appreciate our partnership. And, to anyone who's listening, like, if you find it in your heart that you want to help in any way, like whether it's with youth or little ones or mentoring or any demographic of people, you know, research. How can you get involved? There will be answers. If you look, you will find. And you know, just it's needed. It takes all of us to come together to make differences. You know, one person at a time, if that's what it is. So,
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Every Child Matters. For more information on Because One Matters, please visit our website at becauseonematters.org. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast. We are currently on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Leave us a rating and follow us on social media at Because One Matters. I've been your host for this episode, Andrea Barkley, and it's been a pleasure to join you. Until next time, be a difference maker.